All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday afternoon. Big boy slate, as our man Nate D said. 14 games, $1 million up top on DraftKings. Not something you see every day in the NBA streets. Definitely excited to talk through this slate. I should say I'm excited to listen to what Rio has to say. I will not be doing too much talking. We don't have too much time to waste. First and foremost, our man, Max Manning. Huge shout out to you. And the first one in chat today. That is awesome. $100,000 for Max Manning. Awesome messages he sent. A lot of appreciation, a lot of grinding. He's been at it for a long time. Shout out to you, Max Manning. $100,000 big ones. Such an awesome team. Awesome stuff. Bowl gets it done for you. Tyus Jones, couple late night hammers. Huge congrats to you. Hope you're enjoying that 100 stacks. NY's in here. Nate D, Jordan, Michael, Little Neck, Wardo, Wins a Lot, Ricky, Jason Turner, Daniels, Langley, Mark Davis, Lyle, Michael Ortiz, Tweezy, Paraby, Jason. I think I already said Wardo. Cody's in here. I think I already said Jordan. You deserve it twice. Mr. Mike's daddy, Big Ed, Michael, Russell, M.N. Holla, From, William. Who else haven't I not said? Richie Smalls, Mercier, Jim Parrish, Evan, AZ Bob, Austin, appreciate every single one. Roddy in here, so many people. All we ask, like button, subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. Renell's in here, Al Money as well. Again, if you do want to join us at the Nation, y'all know the drill by now. Best deal out there, Ship 50, gets you $50 off your first month. Includes Shiptimizer, $99, takes you down to $49 with an optimizer, with the Discord community. No better deal out there, and it's not even close. Rio, I've left you hanging long enough. $1 million up top tonight. How many do you have in that? I saw you had a pretty solid day yesterday yourself. Any broad slate overview if you want to do that before we get right into it?
Yeah, last night was solid. Obviously capped off by our guy Max taking down the fade, so shout out to him. Saw he had a little late swap process getting on to like 60% bowl. That was huge last night if you were able to hold off some of those roster spots for him, because he only came in 9% owned in the lotto, probably less than some of those single entry contests. So yeah, huge shout out to Max. Been around for a while, so definitely happy for him. Yeah, I got 3 in the millie tonight, so hopefully one of those can shoot us up way up towards the top. Obviously, it's very tough on a 14-game slate. I guess broad slate overview, like correlation stuff doesn't really matter as much tonight. I definitely think you can get a lot more strict with your rule settings. Things like we talk about when we go game by game, like Max 1 Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Max 1 Cat, Brunson, things like that. I think makes a lot of sense tonight. Just because you need the pure nuts to ship a lot of tournaments and be in contention and win a lot of money. So definitely want to get stricter there and really nail down the process. But yeah, a lot to talk about here. So I think we should just get right into it.
Let's get right into it. It's going to be rapid fire. Again, I won't be talking much. Rio, I saw his message. He spent 4 hours this morning absolutely diving in. If you're a member, definitely check out the slate plan right there. NBA slate plan, like you should every show. Yeah, he absolutely grinded his ass off for this one. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut for the most part and just steer the way. First game of the night, San Antonio Spurs, 8.5-point underdogs to the Boston Celtics, 234 total. Injuries in this one, nothing on the Spurs side. Boston side, Drew Holiday's out. Jaylen Brown's questionable. Torrey Craig is also questionable. Throw it to you right away in this one. Jaylen Brown, do you see him missing this game? Obviously, we'll get the news before lock, but if so, what does that do? Looking at ownership right now, hardly anything on the Spurs, hardly anything on Boston. So I assume if Jaylen Brown's in, more of a stay-away game, but take it away.
Yeah, don't really have a strong lean on the Jaylen Brown stuff. Missed the last game. Don't really know the severity of the injury, but All-Star break right around the corner, so they could take it a little more cautious and just give him an extra day off. That would obviously increase the usage rates on guys like Derek White, Jason Tatum. Kristaps Porzingis would add another guy into the rotation like Sam Hauser into the starting lineup, and then we've seen pretty solid roles from Peyton Pritchard coming off of the bench. but yeah, the Spurs defensively have not been great as of late. They're still allowing a good amount of rim volume this season, especially over the last month or so. Pick and roll defense not been very good. They don't really have a lot of those good on-ball defenders in the starting lineup with Sochan and Castle on the bench now. And then the Celtics playing really good on both ends, ranked eighth ranked defense and fifth in offensive rating over the past 6 games or so. I think they have a pretty good chance of blowing out the Spurs tonight just with how good their offense has been as of late. But the Celtics continue to be a lot more of an on-ball funnel, especially with Drew out. So the guards for San Antonio are in a much better spot than the bigs, I would say. And then we have a 4-game sample with Fox in the lineup now for the Spurs, who have a pretty good 150-ish minute sample now. They have a really solid offensive rating now, 122 with Fox and Wemby on the court together. The biggest negative impact for Wemby has been his usage rate has come down a good bit. He was around like 30%, 31% on the season, down to 25.7%, but still has a really solid rebounding rate of 28%. And then the fantasy points per minute production has been elite still, 1.76 fantasy points per minute. So actually seen a slight increase in his per minute production sharing the court with De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, the matchup is going to be very tough with Kristaps and Al Horford down low, but as we know, Wemby is somewhat matchup proof. The downside risk here is that the game does have a good chance to blow out. Celtics don't really allow a lot of blocks either, which is kind of what you want to see from Wemby. You want those teams that are attacking the basket and giving him those opportunities for more blocks and steals. Celtics obviously don't do that. They're going to be launching from 3, so I think it's a pretty neutral spot for Wemby, but obviously the upside is still clearly there. Had a huge game against Washington, much softer matchup, but either way, he's still always in play at 11K. And then, De'Aaron Fox looks like he probably has the best matchup tonight. Good price tag, too, at 8.1K with a dual eligibility. He leads the team in pick and roll scoring for the Spurs. Talked about it when he first came over, how bad the pick and roll offense was for San Antonio this season. Adding him into the mix definitely changes that a lot. And it's a good matchup with the Celtics being towards the bottom half of the league in pick and roll defense, bottom 4. So I think it's a pretty good spot for De'Aaron Fox. The thing is, on a big slate, do you really want to eat that big of a salary early? I don't really know what the true ceiling is for him. We obviously saw him have a huge game against Atlanta. I think that was his first game with San Antonio. Atlanta's a much softer matchup, and they play a lot faster pace, so there's more possessions to go around there. So I'm not sure I really want to live or die by De'Aaron Fox in the first game of the slate. But matchup-wise, he does have the best in terms of the starters for San Antonio. And same for Chris Paul. Bad pick and roll defense on the other end. His volume on offense has been really down, kind of been just vacated to shooting 3-pointers right now. I don't know if vacated was the right word, but he's not doing a lot on offense outside of just shooting threes. So there's not enough upside there. Same thing for Castle. He actually leads the team in usage over the last 4 games, but still pretty pricey on a 14-game slate. I think he's better on smaller slates. And then flipping over to the Celtics side, Tatum looks like he's in a really good spot here with how bad the Spurs have been on defense over the last month or so. And if Jaylen Brown were to miss this game, he would be probably one of the top spend-up options on the slate because the matchup is really easy versus Harrison Barnes, in my opinion. His usage increases to 39% with Brown off the court, and he's a 1.55 fantasy point per minute producer in those minutes, probably playing close to 36, 38, as we've seen him really get pushed up in games that are close. There'll be times where he plays 22, 23 minutes straight and just doesn't check off the court. So he'd look like a really strong spin-up option. If Brown is in, I do like the matchup for him as well, but same thing for Fox. Spurs are allowing a lot of transition scoring, so that'd be really good for Jaylen Brown, but coming off the injury with a fully healthy team, probably wouldn't want to go there. Kristaps Porzingis is a little bit too expensive, but it's a really good matchup for him. Derek White would look better if Brown were out, but don't really have any interest now. And then Hauser and Horford would benefit from Brown missing as well. I would prefer Horford just because he got the rebounding upside, and Hauser's a little bit more scoring dependent, but really it's the same thing. You don't want to eat too much of your roster spots in this first game.
Yeah, I don't think 2 players max, I guess I'd be fine with. And I think Tatum is the best play in this game. I still don't love it if Jaylen Brown's in, though. If he is out, I do think he'd be a lead play at 9.9. Fox would be my favorite on the Spurs side if I had to pick. But we have 14 games. There's a laundry list of Q takes as we go throughout. So not a game I want to get too much of. First, Elton asks, joining today, do you guys have a promo code? We do. Shout out to you, Elton, right here. SHIP50 is our best promo code going on. We have weekly, monthly, 6-month annual packages. The best one, though, I recommend, I don't even recommend weekly right now, or this monthly, $99 for the whole month with an optimizer, our Shiptimizer. Takes $50 off, so $99 down to $49, less than $2 a day with an optimizer, with Discord, all the content going on. As you see, PGA is going on, locks tomorrow, MMA this week, NBA going on, NHL going on, Daytona 500 NASCAR going on. Before you know it, MLB going on. $49 with this code SHIP50, an optimizer, all the content. I mean, you pay that for just MMA at certain places. So it's not no doubt, or it's no brainer. That's the word I'm looking for. If you want to join us, SHIP50 is the promo code. All right, let's keep it rolling, Rio. Next game on the slate, Charlotte Hornets. 12.5 point underdogs to the Orlando Magic. 203 total. You don't really see any lower than that unless maybe the Chicago Bulls are playing. Then maybe they should have a team total of 60 after what I saw yesterday. But injuries in this one. Orlando side, Jalen Suggs doubtful. Charlotte side, no LaMelo. Still without Mark Williams, obviously. Who knows what's going on with that. And Diabate is questionable. Looking at ownership in this game, as we can see in the stone, another game really without too much. I see Nick Smith at 21%. I feel like we're probably a little hot on that, but I mean, if Nick Smith's 21% on a 14-game slate, I am very fine living with someone else. But there is no LaMelo. Somebody on this team has to do something. 12.5 point spread, though. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, if there were make sure I'm not muted. Okay. If there were ever a game to X out, I think it's probably this one. Makes it pretty easy just to make this a 13-game slate. I will talk about it briefly, but just kind of preface it by saying that I don't think that we really want to spend our hard-earned dollars on a game like this. Like, you're really hoping for a 99th percentile outcome with both teams randomly getting better on offense. Orlando's been really bad since adding Franz and Paulo back into the mix on offense. One of the worst teams in the league. And then the Hornets, they have nobody outside of Miles Bridges that really has NBA level talent. You can make the case that Nick Smith and KJ Simpson have potential, but I just don't think that this is really a spot I want to get into. I will say though, Moussa Diabate questionable. I'm not too sure how you can re-injure your eye mid-game unless you got hit, and I didn't see anything about him getting hit, so that was kind of weird. But he got ruled out in the second half and was crushing. Hurt my lineups because I ended up with like 50% of him that night, and he was really low owned, looking like he was going to win me a lot of money. But I'm mentioning that because if he's out, they'll be very, very thin in the front court. It's going to be Nurkic and Taj Gibson manning all those center minutes. If Diabate is out, they probably could run a little bit more small ball with like Daquan Jeffries, Salon, and Miles Bridges there. But if they do go 48 full minutes of traditional center minutes, I don't see a case where Nurkic doesn't play less than like 24 to 26 because Taj Gibson is like physically not capable at this point of his career playing more than like 16 to 18 minutes. They did say that Nurkic would be on a minutes restriction. I don't know how true that is. If Diabate is out, like they may have to play him 22 to 26, something like that. And if that's the case, I wouldn't mind him as a value play just because we know that he's a very solid permanent guy in his career. But as it stands right now, don't have a lot of interest in the Charlotte side. You can make the case for Nick Smith and KJ Simpson again, but they're projected to have 95 points tonight. I don't know if I want to eat chalk on this big of a slate when this team like really has a chance to struggle and maybe not even hit 90 real points tonight. So I'd be okay getting away from that. KJ's been okay running the show with LaMelo out, only averaging 23.5 DK points in 2 starts, right around 30 minutes. The matchup normally is pretty good against Orlando. They do allow some pick and roll stuff, but they've actually been pretty good in comparison to where they were last year in pick and roll defense. So not something I'm looking to get to too much of. Nick Smith is playing a ton of minutes. That's really the only good thing I could say. The matchup is really tough. I still think Orlando is a very strong defense. And then Orlando side, I don't really want to get to these guys. I'd be max one, Paulo and Franz. Those are the only two that I'd really consider. Hornets rim defense is actually pretty good with Diabate down low. So if he misses, then it's a slight boost for them.
I agree. First 2 games of the slate pretty much fades, in my opinion. Not much interest. Slow-paced teams, big spreads in those first 2 games. Let's get to another game with the big spread. I do think a little more interesting for DFS, though. Indiana Pacers 10-point favorites over the Washington Wizards. Big boy total, 243 in this game. Indiana side, no Miles Turner again. Thomas Bryant will continue to start. Jarris Walker is questionable. Washington side, no Middleton, no Marcus Smart. Thomas Bryant looks like one of the most popular plays on the slate, coming off a very solid game yesterday, 32 minutes, 37 DK points against the Knicks. 5K center. Neesmith got the start yesterday, the surprise start. Really wish he did not. I mean, 6.5 DK points, 13 minutes only. What is going on right there? Curious to think or hear if you think he runs back the starting lineup. And then I'm seeing Siakam get some ownership too. I know he's been solid, but if it's a 14-game slate and we need the nuts, I don't know how many times Siakam's getting me 60 plus. So curious to your take on this one. We like picking on the Wizards. Pacers will get some ownership. I think Washington has some interesting pieces too.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Neesmith should have just stayed home if he was going to play that bad. I mean, picked up so many dumb fouls very quickly. I mean, I don't know. You're in the NBA, and how are you, like, pulling some guy's shorts when he's going up for a layup when you know that you have 3 fouls? I thought that he was off to the races after Jalen Brunson picked up his 5th because that was really the guy that's drawing all those fouls on him, and then he picked up a dumb one on Cat. So, yeah, he should have just stayed off the bench. I don't necessarily know if they're going to continue with that. It was kind of bad, and then Benedict Mathurin played really good off the bench. They did say they wanted to try out some new rotations, new starting lineup stuff, so maybe they stick with it for another game. But I kind of think it was more matchup-based because they did like the matchup with Neesmith on Brunson. I mean, it kind of worked out. Brunson obviously had a bad game. That was more so him getting into a lot of foul trouble very quickly. But yeah, we'll have to see what the starting lineup looks like. I don't think that they would do anything crazy like a Obi Toppin, but from a matchup standpoint, like I don't necessarily think that they need to play Thomas Bryant a ton of minutes here with it's different when you're going against Alex Sarr and Rashawn Holmes and Tristan Vukovic versus Karl Anthony Towns. So I think that matchup wise, it was better for him last night to play more minutes. Tonight, I could see them playing a little bit more small ball with Obi Toppin. And kind of in general, I'm okay getting away from Thomas Bryant. Shock. Like 5K, you still need him to do a lot. He has done very good as a starter for the Pacers this season, been above 30 points a handful of times. I don't know if he's going to do that, 30 to 40% of the time. So maybe something to be more around the field on, like in the 25 to 28% range on Thomas Bryant. But I don't really necessarily want to take a huge stand on him. Kind of skipped over like the matchup stuff, but yeah, it's still a really good spot for the Pacers. Wizards don't really have a ton on defense right now until they get Marcus Smart acclimated to the team. I'm not even sure if he's ever going to suit up for them, but they don't have a lot of good defenders outside of Bilal Coulibaly. Pacers been struggling a lot, definitely missing Miles Turner as the rim defense has gotten really bad over the last 3 or 4 games. But it should be a good spot for these Pacers guys on offense. The Wizards allow the 3rd most transition points per game. Pacers love to play fast, one of the best offensive transition teams in the league. Should be well rested after the blowout last night. These guys kind of came out like the 6-7 minute mark of the 4th quarter. So nobody really got up to too many minutes. Matchup wise, I think it's tough for Haliburton. Really good GPP play just because we know the upside is there. I don't think that this is a spot for it because he's going to have Coulibaly on him. It's really weird watching him play because I feel like every time he's aggressive on offense, he can get to a spot and put up a lot of points. But he just defers so much, and I don't really understand why he does it. I feel like he's talented enough on offense to be able to take over a game, but he's just way too passive at times. And I don't really want to do that at 8.2K on a 14-game slate, in my opinion. I think the matchup is very good for Siakam with how bad the Wizards are in transition. So I'd be okay if I land on him as last man in. But same thing you said, probably going to need like 55 plus at that price tag. He does have that upside. He's done it a couple times in the last week or so. We talked about it yesterday. And the matchup probably could not even be any better if Coulibaly is on Haliburton, which I do expect to be the case tonight. Matchup is really good for Benedict Mathurin as well, but probably a little bit too much risk with him coming off the bench now. If he does start, I'd be a little bit more interested there. I don't really think I'm looking to Nembhard or McConnell for upside on the slate. I don't really think I want to get to Neesmith either. I'm kind of okay fading him, especially if he gets a little bit of ownership. But I do think Obi Toppin is a little bit interesting as a pivot off of Thomas Bryant, because I think that this could be a spot where it makes sense to me for him to get more minutes here, just because I don't think that they really need Thomas Bryant's size, and I don't really think he does enough defensively or offensively to really push his minutes up. So I kind of like Obi here. Wizards side, I don't really have too much interest here. I think that the matchup is very tough for Jordan Poole with Neesmith and Nembhard doing very, very good in pick and roll defense this season. Now he has seen a very big increase in usage and touch time per game since the trade deadline, shipping off a lot of those high usage guys like Kuzma. But those two guys on the other side on the Pacers are playing really good defense right now. I think I kind of just want to avoid that situation. Koulibaly, same thing. I think he's a little bit too expensive, especially with Sarr returning to kind of take away that rebounding upside. And then Sarr, I don't really think is too much of in play. But unless they say that he's going to be a full go, which I think he should be. I don't know if he's just kind of been sitting out just because they don't really need him. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the minutes there. This is not a game I'm too excited of, excited about, even with the game total being pretty solid.
There you go. Like Gang Green said, slate starts at 7:30. I definitely think this game is better than the first two games, like picking a one-off. But it'd probably be on the Pacers side, and yeah, probably Thomas Bryant. He's going to get ownership. You are locking yourself into a center position early if you do that. But yeah, Tyrese can't stop being so passive. He's got to take his shots, get to his spot, make other defenders change your game, make other defenders worried about you scoring, and then other things will open up. So I agree. You got to get back to being his old self. But on this 14-game slate, like him and Siakam, just guys that I haven't really clicked this year. I'm not sure I want to click them on this big of a slate. Let's move to the next game. To me, it looks like a pretty easy catch-up game. I have no interest. Philadelphia 76ers, 3-point favorites over the Brooklyn Nets. 212.5 total. Injuries on the Brooklyn side. Claxton questionable. That is it there. Philly side, no Embiid, no Eric Gordon, no Lowry. Pretty much the same as we've seen recently. Yeah, I'm totally out on this game. If you have anything, you can let me know. Like Maxey, can always play him, but he's 9.8K. It's a big boy price tag. Yeah, talk to me. I got nothing.
Yeah, as it stands right now with everybody in, I think it's a fade game, but don't be surprised if we get some late injury news on the Philly side. They're only 3-point favorites on the road. I get it. They're on the road, but Brooklyn is obviously not that great of a team. They've been playing really good defense as of late. But the Sixers, like they're at kind of like a fork in the road because they own their pick in the next draft if they get a top 6 pick. So they're kind of, I would say, more incentivized to play poorly right now. Obviously, the loss to the Raptors last night was not a good look, and then you rule out Embiid, all the talk about him with his knee injury. And then there was some quotes about Nick Nurse last night. Obviously, Maxey had like one of his worst games of the season, saying he needed to see if he was injured or something like that. Just didn't play well, still played a lot of minutes. But, yeah, they kind of need to make a choice what they're going to do, what direction they're going to take this season because they're getting a little bit too close now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a late-day downgrade on Paul George or Tyrese Maxey. But yeah, if those guys are in, I think it's a fade game. The matchup is not great for Maxey either with how solid the Nets do play on-ball defense. They have a lot of just like schematic ways to stop guys like Tyrese Maxey. Their pick-and-roll defense, I think, is first or second, like right there with OKC this season. So just not a good spot for him. Quentin Grimes is kind of interesting because he's done enough, I think, to get a spot in the starting lineup. I think he got the second half start over Justin Edwards last night. So I'm probably expecting him to start tonight. But I just don't know if we need that type of play on this type of slate. But I think he's okay. I'm not Xing now. He's probably one of the only guys I would keep in my player pool on Philly. On Brooklyn side, full X out unless Claxton gets ruled out. Then I would have a lot of interest in Day'Ron Sharpe because we've seen how bad the Sixers defense has been without Embiid in the lineup. The rim defense is a really big issue, but they've also recently become a very big 3-point funnel. But also their rebounding rates have been really bad with Embiid off the court. So I think Day'Ron Sharpe would be a pretty interesting play at 4.3K, assuming he's given the start.
Would you like him straight up or more than Thomas Bryant straight up, you think? Obviously, the 700 goes a long way, but like, would he already be elevated into a top-tier play?
Yeah, I'd prefer him over Thomas Bryant if Claxton is out personally. He's just such a good per-minute guy. Like, it does not take a lot of possessions for him to kind of hit value because he can just do the Angel Reese and get like, yeah, the Drummond, exactly.
Yeah, Angel Reese Drummond. I love it. On the same page. Yeah, otherwise, that's probably one of the worst games on the slate. Assuming no downgrades for Philly and Claxton's in, I don't want any pieces of that game. I guess Grimes, like you said, he did start in the second half, 4.7K, but again,
yeah, if Maxey misses, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. If Maxey does miss, Jared Butler is the guy you'd look to because he was really good last night. Somebody in Discord asked me if he was going to play like 20-plus minutes, and I was like, no, 15, 16 is probably the max, so that would take him out of play, and then he put up almost 30. He just does a lot of everything, and Baylor, he's only right? 3.1K. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
he was a stud at Baylor. I think Oubre too. If there's no Maxey, I'd be good at playing Oubre at that price. You can see 25 shots right there. Otherwise, assuming everyone's in, no interest. All right, let's keep it rolling. A billion games to talk about. New York Knicks, Wardo's New York Knicks, 8-point favorites over the Atlanta Hawks. His favorite player, Trae Young. I'm excited for this one. 241.5 total. Atlanta side, no Vic Krejci, no Larry Nance. Other side for the Knicks, OG's doubtful, Miles McBride, questionable. I think some of these Knicks are interesting. We like picking on the Hawks, like the Towns, the Brunsons. Josh Hart coming off a monster game himself. Mikal Bridges. I know you didn't like him yesterday, so you probably won't like him on this slate. But Hart, Towns, Brunson, and I know you mentioned pre-show, like would you set a rule max 1? I think they're all strong though. Towns my favorite, like he usually is. Other side with the Hawks, I don't know. I'll throw it to you. I need Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Karis LeVert, guard forward eligibility, played solid in his first game. Can't ignore this one, I don't think.
No, for sure. It's a really good game to watch. I think 2 games ago it was when Trae was in the Garden, he rolled the dice on the logo, and then the Knicks got the better of the matchup the last time out. I think it was that game when Mikal Bridges had like 15 points in like 6 minutes in the third quarter. He had Trae Young on and was literally posting him up and just shooting over him. So I think that's interesting if they go that route again. I'm not sure they will, just because he kind of got exposed, and they've added a little bit more size into the lineup with Mo Gay and then George Niang. Karis LeVert getting in there. I think he's a pretty solid defender. But yeah, defensively, both these teams have struggled a decent bit. We also got to keep an eye on the OG and Anunoby news. They've been listed questionable, and Shams had said that he was going to be out through the All-Star break. It sounded like he was pretty close to playing last night, so maybe there's a chance he plays tonight. I wouldn't think that it would change too much outside of obviously Precious Achiuwa being overpriced and kind of seeing a lot less minutes. And then Miles McBride is questionable as well. I think he landed on, I think it's a hip injury for him. I think he just got landed on and kind of bruised it up. So I'm not sure if he were to miss. But yeah, if he does miss, then it's campaign Landry Shamet that would probably take those minutes. But yeah, both teams very, very much struggling on defense right now. Knicks are bottom 3 in the rim defense over the last 5 to 6 games. Hawks are not too far behind them. We should look to attack both teams with guards because the pick and roll defense for each team has been very bad. Knicks are dead last there. Hawks are bottom 3 in pick and roll defense. So the bigs, centers, and the point guard and shooting guards, I think, are in the best spots here. Trae Young, one of the better pick and roll scorers in the league this season, but 9.6K is a tough tag to pay, I think. The matchup is very good, but we know that he's just got an extremely low floor that could bury you if you played him. So I don't really think that I want to get to him at a near 10K price tag on this big of a slate. Yeah, I mean, we're only 6 games in the slate. I feel like I've talked a lot about guys that I do like, but yeah, just Trae Young is not the type of play that I want to get to. Kind of same thing for Dyson Daniels. Adding Karis LeVert into the mix would take away from him from a usage and ball handling standpoint. They like Karis LeVert more as like the secondary ball handler because he has some experience there. So yeah, I think Dyson might be a tad overpriced right now. I like the matchup for Okongwu. He did really well in 2 out of the 3 games against the Knicks this season. Still not really playing a ton of minutes, though. Kind of capped like 28, 29. And this matchup does bring a bit of foul risk in me defending Cat tonight, but the Knicks have really struggled to defend the rim, and the rebounding hasn't been as good as of late. So I think Okongwu has a little bit of upside at his price tag if we can run into a game where he gets to like 30, 31 minutes, which those games have been very few and far between. So I would say more on the fade side of Okongwu, but I do like the matchup for him. But yeah, I think Karis LeVert probably the play I would look to the most on the Hawks. He was really good in the last game versus Orlando, played 32 minutes off the bench, put up 32.5 DK points. And with DeAndre Hunter now in Cleveland, they don't really have that secondary usage, like secondary option on offense. And he provides a very similar spark off the bench. So I think Karis LeVert is probably the guy I would look to. I like him as a value play tonight. That's about it. I think that it's just chasing, trying to get to like Niang or Mo Gay. I know there's like a lot of back and forth in the Discord about Mo Gay the other night. Only ended up playing like 15, 16 minutes. Was very good in his first rotation, and everybody was kind of kicking themselves for not playing him. Didn't really matter too much, but yeah, I think it's just kind of chasing, trying to get to those guys. The Knicks side, a lot to like here. I think Cat is in a great spot. Was awesome last night in the win over Indy. Put up a massive stat line: 40 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 70 DraftKings points. As noted in the matchup section of this game, Atlanta's been very, very bad with the rim protection over the last month or so. So this is a really, really good spot for Cat. It looked more like himself last night. He did kind of bang up his finger a little bit. Not really shooting great from 3-point range, but he was very aggressive, driving the ball and getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line. Looked very good last night. So I like what I saw. I think he's in a really good spot here, and I love the spot as a bounce back for Brunson. He wasn't even bad last night. It's just the minutes were cut way down because of the foul trouble. Picked up his 5th foul, like 7 minutes or 8 minutes, or at the 8-minute mark of the third quarter, and then had to sit out until like the 6-minute mark of the fourth. So missed a ton of time, but was still pretty good. Hasn't shown massive upside in the matchup versus Atlanta, but was really efficient as a scorer. The last time these two teams faced off, went 12 for 18 from the field for 34 real points, 46.3 DK points. So I think he's very solid. I think I would be looking to set a rule of max one of those guys tonight. For sure, max two of like the Cat, Brunson, Hart range. But the reason why I would consider that is if you play both of them, you're skipping out on plays like Sabonis, like Dame. If you play Cat and Brunson, and then in like the mid 8K range, you're skipping out on like Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun, Halliburton, I guess, if you're considering him, Trey Murphy. Like, there's a lot of guys in those range that you're kind of asking for a lot to have true ceiling games from both of them on this big of a slate. But I like them both individually a ton. And then Josh Hart, the role change was I wouldn't be too excited about him tonight. I mean, I like the matchup because up-tempo play style, weak rim defense, all things you want to see when you're firing up Josh Hart. But he shot 16 times from the field last night, was really efficient, put up 30 real points in that game. I wouldn't be counting on that on a regular basis. I think a lot of that was due to Brunson foul trouble. But as we know, he does have the triple-double outside. If anything, a very good bet to get a double-double. And then the matchup is good, like I said, with Atlanta being pretty poor in transition and the rim defense. So I think he's pretty solid, but not expecting 30 real points from him. And then these secondary guys, don't think I would even get to them if OG is out. Maybe Achua would be okay at 5.5K. But that's probably, I like the guys up top for New York.
Yeah, I think it's the studs too. Like, again, on a 14-game slate, I'm expecting we're going to need 7x from everybody or something like that. I don't know how much Precious does that. I do think Dyson Daniels, if I was playing 150, I'd be fine taking, I mean, we're showing what, 0.53%. I know the price tag's up there, but he's had multiple 40-plus games as of late. I think he can touch 50. He'll play all the minutes in the world. We'll need his defense. So I don't hate him. I think I prefer him over Trey and getting the discounts. Okongwu has his random games. I'm not sure this is one of them. It's probably just Towns, Brunson, Hart. Pick one of them, and that's probably it for me. I think Karras is fine too, but he did shoot the ball efficiently. 32 minutes is good, no doubt about that, and his minutes are staggered with Trey a bit. But, man, like, how often is he going to get me 33? Maybe. I guess 32 minutes is solid. The role's a little unknown with him just coming over, and they need his bench presence. But he did shoot the ball efficiently to get his 32 DK points in 32 minutes last time. So the Knicks guy is definitely my favorite. And I do probably like the max one on such a big slate like this. All right. No time to waste. Next game on the slate. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out. 350. Don't have time really to answer too many questions. I'm in chat talking to some people when I see it. But like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Not even halfway through. Great job so far, Rio. Next game, big favorite. I think this kind of is a pass for me. Maybe you got a different take. 13.5-point favorites are the Cleveland Cavaliers over the Toronto Raptors. 237.5 total. Injuries in this one, Max Strus and Ty Jerome questionable. Toronto side, Jakob Poeltl is out. Again, big spread. Cavs big favorites. Toronto played yesterday. Quickly and Grady Dick did fine. Shout out to Max. I believe he did have both. For sure had Quickly, which wasn't even a flame. I think he had Grady Dick as well, who played better. Now they're in a back-to-back, though, as big dogs. Like, do I want to spend up for a Jared Allen, a Mobley, a D-Mitch on a slate like this? Garland? Not really. I think it's a pass, but you tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think it's pretty much a pass here. I could see this game being a huge blowout in 3 quarters. The only case you could make for Cleveland is that they have got it done in 3 quarters before. You know, they had a huge game against Dallas where like Garland, Mitchell, and Allen and Mobley like all put up reasonable stat lines and fantasy scores at their respective price tags. The Raptors defense is on the struggle bus right now. I mean, they got rid of all of their good defenders. They will be adding RJ Barrett back, who I would say is upgrade over what they had in the starting lineup, but it's still pretty bad for them. The Raptors do have the 4th lowest rebounding rate in the league this month, so we could see huge rebounding stat lines from Allen and Mobley. I would say that's more of a a prop bet if you were looking to place any like the rebounding numbers there for both of them. But yeah, I mean, like the best point per dollar plays on this slate or in this game on the Cleveland side are the guys that are questionable with Max Strus and Ty Jerome. So I guess like if they miss, I don't really think that if they miss it, it does enough to change it. They still have enough bodies with Mobley, Mitchell, Garland, Allen, DeAndre Hunter mixing in now. So they got Merrill, Tyson, Craig Porter Jr. So like they have enough guys to mix in where nobody would really stand out as a great play. But I think if I had to choose one person on Cleveland, it would be Jared Allen just because he's the least opportunity cost in terms of salary. And I think the matchup is really, really good for him. Toronto side, full X out now. I was expecting Barrett and quickly out this morning when I was writing up this game. So it would have made Jamal Shed very interesting. But they're in, so I don't think that we need to get there. I think Grady Dick probably a lot worse now with Barrett back. So yeah, nothing on Toronto for me.
Yep, I think it's a pretty easy pass. On these huge slates, like we talk about it a lot in NFL too, the easiest way to make it a little more manageable, a little less stressful is to X games like this. And this would be one, or at least a max one in the game. So you at least can narrow down your path, your strategy, because it's so hard to do with 14 games, a million players on the slate. But yep, I think that's another pass. We've had like 3 or 4 of them, a lot of the first couple of games. This next game, man, we're running it back, Rio. Hopefully we get a little closer game. Vegas is expecting it. Very interesting. 29 points the Bulls had at halftime. That is absolutely pathetic. I don't know what to say. Pistons, 6-point favorites over the Chicago Bulls, 236.5 total. No injury news on the Detroit side. Lonzo is doubtful with an illness, so the exact same thing that we saw yesterday. I mean, none of these guys got there because it was a blowout and they hardly played any minutes. But if Cade played 36 minutes, I think he was absolutely going to smash. So I'm good going right back to him. I'll just throw it right to you. I mean, what is yesterday and like how the game went? Does that like make you like the Bulls are going to get up? They're going to fight. They're going to try. Is the Pistons like, yeah, we're just way better than this team. Let's run it right back. Obviously, 6 points is not crazy for a line, and I will trust the line over anything else. Plenty of money's bet on it. If it's 6 points with 5 minutes left, all the starters will be in, and they'll get – I mean, I assume after everyone rested yesterday too, can Cade play 40 in a close game today? I think this is a game that I want a piece of.
Yeah, for sure. I'll kind of reiterate what I said yesterday because I think that we're pretty spot on with the Chicago stuff. But the rotation is going to be tough to nail down until we get more clarity on how Billy Donovan plans to approach it, because they ran 11 guys in the first half. That's just not what we want to see. Like I mentioned how we were probably going to see a 3-headed monster at center. We saw Zach Collins check in, I believe, at the end of the first and play like 6-7 minutes in the first half, something like that. They're mixing in Herter, Trey Jones. Like they have a lot of guys right now that they want to see what they can have or see what they have in them. So it just makes it really, really tough to want to play any of these guys. And I'll for sure with Vooch, I mean, he's 7.9K, should project pretty decently because the usage and per minute stuff will look really good when you consider Levine and Lonzo and all these other guys out of the lineup. But I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it with Chicago tonight. Only reason those guys were really in play because it was a 4-game slate yesterday. I'll still mention like Kobe White probably in the best spot here. He was pacing for around 34 minutes, had the game stay close. So if anybody has safe minutes, I would say it's probably him. But that's probably it. I don't think I want to mess with any of these other guys. The Detroit side, though, I think is very interesting for all the same reasons we mentioned yesterday. A lot of it is just kind of rehashing what we said on the show last night. But obviously the Bulls play fast and pace. They're allowing a ton of volume at the rim. Their pick and roll defense is not good. Transition defense is slightly below average. Their 3-point defense has been really, really bad over the last 10 games or so. So a lot of guys match up very, very well here. And we saw everybody have success. Cade, he was pacing for right around 54 DraftKings points from a point per minute perspective, but it probably was closer to like 60 because he was 4 rebounds and 3 assists shy of the triple-double and double-double bonus. So I think Cade is probably one of the best fans again on the slate. We'll probably get to like 36 minutes tonight. This is their last game before the All-Star break, so they'll have a lot of time to rest up after this. So I think Cade is very good. I think Duren is really good. He was okay, lost a lot of first half run because Isaiah Stewart and the second unit was just on fire in that second quarter. So it kind of got cut down. I think he was at like 7 minutes at some point when Isaiah Stewart was at 12. So it was like a 50-50 split for most of the game. So I think I'd be fine going right back to him. And he's not looking like he's going to get too much ownership on this big of a slate. So I think he's very, very good. Tobias, don't need to go there on a 14-game slate. Beasley, probably same thing, don't need to go there. I think I would look to betting his lines a little bit more. He's been crushing it, did very good in his minutes that he played yesterday, shot super efficiently from the field, was 7 for 10 from deep. Kind of, hit that one very nicely. Just didn't get the minutes because the game was a blowout, but he probably gets to like 40. He had the game stay close. And then Asar was really good last night, 36 DraftKings points in only 22 minutes. Mentioned how the matchup is perfect for him and can highlight his skill sets. I think he's fine again, but it's a big slate, so I don't think that I definitely wouldn't want more than 2 of these Detroit guys, and then probably one of like the Duran, Tobias, Beasley, Thompson, Tim Hardaway Jr. bucket.
I agree. I mean, tilting yesterday, not because Max Manning won 100K. Shout out to him, and we'll take that any day in the Shipping Nation community. But like your Beasley call, money. Thompson still got there in low minutes. Cade was going to get there. Like, man, when any team scores 29 points at half, it's tough for the other team to get there. But yeah, 6-point favorites. I'm definitely good running it right back. It's a 6-point game. All these guys will be in. They're going to hit value. At least one of them is at least what I'm hoping for. Cade, my favorite. But yeah, Thompson looks strong too. Duran, I think, is interesting as well. All right, let's keep it moving. Next game on the slate. Milwaukee Bucks, 8-point underdogs to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 221.5 total. Reason they're underdogs, or at least this big underdogs. Giannis is out and Dame is questionable. Minnesota side, Ant is questionable. Conley is questionable. Had someone bring it up a little bit ago. I think it was our man CK. He said if Dame was out, he mentioned Ryan Rollins. The problem is now they also have KPJ. I don't know who the starter would be. I'm curious if you have a lean. Rollins has done it in the past. Maybe they need KPJ's bench scoring, so they go that way. Maybe they just think they need scoring from the get-go and go KPJ. I have no clue. This game is at 8 Eastern. Hopefully we get the news, like if he is out, who is starting. I think both would be strong plays. They're going to need him to score. They're both pretty cheap with KPJ at 3.5K, Rollins at 3K. If Dame's in, don't really love too many bucks. Like Kuzma at 6'3" now. I mean, what's this dude's upside? Like, is he getting you 40 plus? I don't know. It's kind of been disappointing to watch. And then on the other side, I think Ant is looking at a good bit of ownership, 20%. And I mean, I think that makes sense. Look at this Bucks roster. Nobody is going to be able to guard Ant unless they throw double teams at him. So yeah, what do you see in this one? You can start however you want. But the Rollins KPJ thing, I'm interested if you think Dame misses.
Yeah, I'll start there because my take, I think that they traded for Kevin Porter Jr. for a reason. If they had a lot of confidence in Ryan Rollins, I don't think that they would have traded for Kevin Porter Jr. I don't know, maybe he was just a toss-in with like the Kuzma stuff. But I mean, KPJ was like,
that was a separate trade, so I think they wanted him.
Yeah, so I mean, KPJ was like one of the more talented guys coming into the league a few years ago. I mean, he was crushing when he was on the Rockets. So I think like the talent is obviously still there. I think that they would want to see what they have from him, and that's kind of what Doc Rivers has said with Kuzma. Like they played him so many minutes because they want him to get integrated into the offense. That clearly has not worked out because their defense has taken a really, really big hit with their rim defense being terrible. Brooke Lopez needs some time off as well. The All-Star break would be huge for him because he's playing so many minutes and he's pretty old now. Doc Rivers has talked about there being a lot of tired legs on the Bucks. So I think that they sit out Dame. And then, I mean, I wish that they would just start Bobby Portis over Kuzma because I think that he fits in way better. It's just I don't get it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but Kuzma would be tough to overlook if Dame were to be out because that's the two of the higher usage guys in the league with Giannis and Dame being out of the lineup. Like there's so much to go around. I would imagine a lot of it is going through Bobby Portis, but Kuzma would take a ton. And then, yeah, if Kevin Porter Jr. is starting, I think that he's probably the best value on the slate, in my opinion. If Dame is out, I would probably, even if he's not starting, I would probably still be taking a pretty heavy overweight stance in Kevin Porter Jr. because we've seen it from him this season. When he got those starts for James Harden, he was awesome. So I think that he would be the best value play on the slate if Dame were to be out. The shooting guard eligibility is very nice to have as well. But yeah, if Dame is in, we're probably getting him at pretty low ownership, and we know that he's been flamethrowing as of late. 51 DK points in 4 straight games, just been on fire. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I think it makes sense to sit him tonight. The spread would probably indicate that. I think they'd be a little bit closer if Dame were to be in, but yeah, who knows? Definitely going to be something you're going to need to prepare for in late swap, which is kind of good. Why you don't want to go too overweight on those overweight or the early games outside of like the Detroit one and Atlanta and Knicks one. I think you should probably save up a good amount of roster spots for this game. On the Wolf side, though, I think it's a really good spot for Ant again. I would expect him to play through the Q tag last time out, was really good. I mean, they obviously lost that game, but he was really good. 40 plus real points in 3 straight games. Really good matchup as well, with Bucks being one of the worst pick and roll defense in the league. He's gonna be able to get around Brook Lopez all night, and Brook plays a lot of drop coverage, so those threes are gonna be very open for him tonight. He's been shooting the ball really well, so I love Ant as a spend up option. I'm fine going right back to Nas. I don't really care about him having one down game. I mentioned it being a really tough matchup with Mobley and Jared Allen down there on the other side. Tonight it should be a lot easier with Kuzma on him. And the Bucks funnel a lot of offense to 3-point shooters. Nas has been playing a ton of minutes, 35 plus in 4 straight games, or in 5 straight games, filling in for Randall, and he's top 40 DraftKings points in 4 of those 5 games. So he's been very consistent outside of the very tough matchup last time out. I don't think you need to go to Gobert tonight at 6.5K. I think it's too big of a price tag, too big of a slate to get there. Same thing for McDaniels. But yeah, if Conley were to miss, so this is kind of what I'm thinking about the guards in this game. If Conley were to miss and Dame is out, good for Nickeil Alexander-Walker because they'd have him on Dame a lot, I would think. But if Dame is out and Conley is out, I think it's good for Rob Dillingham because they won't really need as much defense from NAW. I think that they could probably win the game pretty easily. So I think they could run up Rob Dillingham minutes a little bit more. But yeah, I still would expect NAW to get the bulk of those minutes if Conley were to be out. And then Conley's kind of projecting okay as a value at 4.8K, but never really somebody you're kicking yourself for not playing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all I got on this one.
Yeah, I really hope it's KPJ starting. I still would play some off the bench with KPJ. They would need his offense, his scoring. He'd have to get minutes, but it would feel way safer if he did start. Like, if they went Rollins starting and KPJ off the bench, it'd be tough. Rollins would probably get ownership, and I think rightfully so. I think Rollins is a solid player, but KPJ will be way more aggressive, I think. When you mentioned that shooting guard eligibility as well. Yeah, it's really important news what the Bucks are going to do. And Kuzma will probably jump off the page if Dame is out and ownership will follow. Man, I'm still hesitant on it on a 14-game slate if he's chalky. He has just looked so bad. But yeah, someone's gonna have to shoot the ball. Bobby, they're gonna need Bobby when he gets in. He's absolutely gonna
just start him. It makes no sense. He started those first games, but he was so good in those games, just absolutely smashing, not even just from a game log standpoint. I mean, he was playing really good, and then they just switch it up and go with Kuzma, and then what do you know? They lose. So
yeah, this Bucks squad right now, without Giannis, that is not the answer. Unfortunately, it's tough. All right, let's keep it rolling. Big game right there, though. Damian Lillard questionable tag is big. Next game on the slate: Sacramento Kings taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. 6-point favorites are the Kings. 238.5 total in this one. Zion's questionable. That is it on the Pelican side. For Sacramento, I see no injury news. The problem with the Kings is they just have a million guys. Is it a DeMar game? Which I never would have expected with all of them. We got a DeMar game last game. He did go 15 for 22. He shot 4 for 6 from deep. I mean, just a great game. But, I can't get to – not that I can't. I would max one Monk, Levine, DeMar, Sabonis. I don't even like Sabonis much. Zion, can he get there in 27 minutes on a 14-game slate? 55, I think he can get. Is that enough? Maybe. Curious to hear your take there. The one guy that I will play that's going to be super low owned, just like a Dyson Daniels, Trey Murphy. He's overpriced, but he is so low. No one's going to play this guy, and he is so good. So, yeah, I definitely think Trey Murphy's interesting. But, yeah, I guess start Pelican side. The Zion tag with his minutes cap is a concern, but he can play 42% usage in 27 minutes. Just is it enough on a 14-game slate? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Kings.
Yeah, talking my language with the Trey Murphy talk. I mean, you are big supporters of his game. He's a hooper, man. He looks.
Oh yeah.
Is this his third year in the league? I believe.
Sounds right. I mean,
Yeah,
just
I mean,
his
taking a huge
transition his
leap.
game so much.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of good stuff. So definitely huge fan of his game. I mean, I have some like thoughts about the Zion stuff. I won't really get too deep into it. I don't know how you're listed with a conditioning tag when you played 2 days ago. Like, how do you like lose your conditioning over 2 games? I don't really get
But he
it.
says that it's the team doing it. So who even knows at the end of the day what's going on? Like, yeah, I have no clue.
I mean, I would, if I'm a basketball player and I'm young, Zion's only like 21, 22. Like, I'd be pushing to play every game that I could. Like, you're still playing for a bag. You haven't signed that next big contract. So I'd be pushing to play as much as I could. Because you're not guaranteed to play 3 years down the line. You don't know what happened. You could run into a crazy knee injury and then stop, never play again. So I would take every opportunity I can. But yeah, it's kind of weird. This will be the second time these teams have played in a week, but they play again tomorrow. So they'll be playing each other 3 times in like a 6-day span. So should get a pretty good look at how things match up for them. Both these teams are really bad on defense right now. Kings have been one of the worst teams with their 3-point defense this season, and they were really good with the rim defense. I don't know what happened, but as of late, they've been giving up a ton of rim scoring. Pelicans, always a team that we like to attack. Their rim defense has been awful, right behind the Bulls in rim defense this season, but their transition defense been bad, pick and roll defense bad, 3-point defense bad. Everything you can just pinpoint something, and there's going to be a good matchup all around for Sacramento. I do think it starts with Sabonis, though. He gets the best matchup for opposing centers. We've seen Missy give up some huge stat lines to opposing bigs as of late. Joval is kind of eating into that upside, the minutes upside a little bit for Sabonis. We mentioned that the first time Joval was kind of being introduced in the lineup. But there was a little bit of overlap last game. They played 7 minutes alongside of each other, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, still the usage being very, very spread out in Sacramento right now. Sabonis has a 20.5% usage rate, 18% assist percentage, and 21% rebounding rate. So solid numbers for him, but the matchup is very good for him. So I like it the most for Sabonis. And I do agree with you with being max 1, the Malik Monk, LaVine, DeRozan. I'd probably just be max 2 of like the Sabonis, Monk, LaVine, DeRozan range, because I think that 2 of those guys can get there. But yeah, from a role standpoint, this is probably the best role Malik Monk has had all season long. 23.5% usage rate, 22% assist percentage, and he's first on the team in usage over the last 3 games. With Fox off the court, he's been around a 1.06 fantasy point per minute producer, playing close to 38 minutes a night. And we've seen the Kings really tighten up the rotation in close games. This game is projected to stay pretty close throughout. But yeah, he's averaging around 6 minutes of touchdown per game over the last 3. Just the downside is that he does have to share usage with 3 other high usage players, but I really like the matchup for Malik Monk here. Same thing for LaVine. He's been a little bit underwhelming since coming over from Chicago. The 3-point efficiency is way down, whereas he was scoring the ball really well from deep this season, but he's 4 for 26 from 3-point range over the last 4 games. Minutes have held up pretty nicely. This should be a good spot for him to get a bounce back performance. 7.3K, I think, is a good tag. And the matchup with Pelicans being so bad with the rim defense and transition defense should play very well into LaVine's game. Very good transition score. So I like the spot for LaVine. Same thing for DeMar. I think that he's pretty solid. A little bit pricey, but it seems with Fox out of the picture, DeMar is the guy Sacramento is looking to lean on offensively. Like when the game gets into crunch time, normally that ball was going to De'Aaron Fox, whereas now it's going to DeMar. And then you look at the numbers, 42 points, 33 points, and 22 real points in 3 of his last 5 games. Really good matchup for DeMar. And he's the cheapest of the bunch. So I think that all those guys are very good. Never really like going to Keegan Murray. He's just kind of the odd man out. And then Keon Ellis, same thing. I think if you're playing Keon, you're probably not playing Malik Monk. But I don't think that they'll really need too much on-ball defense tonight. You're talking about like CJ McCollum on the other side, Jose Alvarado possibly. So I think Malik Monk should be okay there. But yeah, the Pelican side, Zion just has a insane usage rate this season. Obviously he's not playing a ton of minutes, but 34% usage rate on the season. That climbs even higher when you start to factor in all those high usage guys that were on the court with him earlier this season with Brandon Ingram and DeJounte Murray. Those guys are obviously not on the team right now. And in those minutes, his usage climbs all the way to 38.5%. The DK output, 1.6 fantasy points per minute. So that's like Wemby level fantasy point per minute production. The issue is he's only playing 28 minutes. They're not going to play him 30. And then he's questionable tonight. So even if he does play, there's a very good chance it's probably closer to like 26.5, 27 versus like 28, 29. He did torch his team in 40 for 40 points in 28 minutes. So that's the type of upside that we're getting from Zion. But it's really, really tough to feel confident about playing somebody at 8.5K that's only getting you 28 minutes on a night. I would much rather play Trey Murphy. Kind of alluded to that at the top with my excitement about him. But yeah, I mean, he's just been crushing this season. The matchup is really good too. Like I mentioned, the Kings, they're getting beat at the rim. His drives are way up with DeJounte Murray off the court. But also just shooting lights out from three-point range as of late. And we've seen his minutes get up to like 38, 39 on a regular basis. And they might have to here with Zion out. And then they don't have a lot of those like G League guys, and some guys they traded away are not with the team. So there's a lot more minute security for Trey Murphy. And he's averaging 1.26 fantasy points per minute when you take off all the guys that are out. There's like eight guys I had to remove to get to those numbers, but it's a pretty large sample. So I think it's a really good spot for Trey. And then assuming Carlo Mitkovic gets another start, I think he'd be okay, especially if Zion were to be out. Should see those rebounding rates increase. He was pretty solid last time out, took 9 shots. So decent shot volume, and was 1 rebound and 2 points shy of the double-double. Was very good in the G League, shown some floor searching capability. So the matchup would be very good for him.
Great breakdown. He also has power forward eligibility, which was nice, not just center eligibility. I like Trey Murphy a lot, like we talked about. Don't think I can get to Zion at that price. I know a couple people in chat like CJ. CJ's just never one of the guys I love clicking for DFS at this price. And definitely my favorite king is Malik Monk. Love everything you said about him, the usage, touch time, etc. Give me Monk if I'm playing any of the Kings, but it's so hard to pick from him with so many guys now. And it does make sense to have the ball going through DeRozan when it's at the end of the game. I mean, he's one of the better ISO players out there, regardless of me not like him in DFS much or whatever. Like, he can get it done one-on-one. It's just he could have 25 raw points and 31 DK points because he doesn't do anything else. But no time to waste. Let's keep it rolling. No time to waste in this game for me because I think it's awful for DFS. OKC Thunder, 14-point favorites over the Miami Heat. 223 total in this one. Injuries on the Miami side. Well, I guess it could get interesting. Hero, Rozier, Duncan Robinson, and Jaime Jaquez, all questionable. And I do not see anything on the Thunder side in terms of – Chet's out. So I should say that. Case and Wallace also out. If all these guys are in, I can't get to SGA at that price. Give me Cade instead. Like Jalen Williams, give me other guys in that range. Heat side, though, all those Q tags, is that right? We got Hero, Rozier, talk about that, I guess. Unless you have any interest on Thunder side, start there. I have none, but are they going to miss all these guys? And if so, who do they even have available? Wiggins? My man, hold on. I know they got available. Is it an Alec Burksy night? Is it Burksy?
Yeah, I think it could be. I think you would probably need Hero to be out to get to Burks because it seems like he was filling that role a little bit. But still, I mean, Duncan and Rozier, I think those guys are both probably out tonight. The midday downgrade with the illness tag, that's been kind of going around in their organization. Obviously not good. Is Hawkes an illness tag as well?
Let me see. It is. Yeah, it is. All of them are.
Yeah, so that's not good. And then obviously Hero missed the last game with the illness. They said his was a stomach bug. So I mean, yeah, definitely expecting some of these guys to sit. I don't think that the spread would really change much, even if they were in or out, just because OKC is that good. But yeah, I mean, if Duncan, Rozier, or if two of Hero, Duncan, and Rozier miss, then yeah, Burks is going to have to play a 3.5K. And we know that he's got upside regardless of matchup. The guy just produces. I mean, he did it last time out. Didn't even add any. I don't think he had any assist. He had 0 assists, but it's 7 rebounds. So yeah, I think Burks would be the guy I'm looking to on the Miami side. If Hero's out, obviously the usage is going to look better and condense on Bam and Wiggins. I just don't think that they can hang around in this game with OKC. OKC's been playing. I mean, they've been playing great all season long, but right now they're one of the hottest 3-point shooting teams in the league. I was just reading one of the beat writers' articles, and they are averaging 39% or shooting 39% from beyond the arc over the last 5 games. not good for Miami when you consider that the way that they play defense kind of funnels a lot more to the 3-point shooters with they're playing a lot of zone defense and really packing the paint with Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo down low. But yeah, it's all that's thanks in a large part due to Caruso, Wiggins, and Isaiah Joe all shooting a lot better as of late. But yeah, I mean, OKC has so many bodies right now. They're going to play these guys probably normal minutes. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see them extend to 10 guys in the first half. And then when they run away with it in the second half, like we're going to be seeing like Alex Dukas and Adam Flagler and Brandon Carlson guys playing. So there's probably not even enough upside to get to like the Isaiah Joe, Wiggins, Caruso's. But I guess from a usage standpoint, take away Chet does benefit Shea the most. But like you said, nearly 11K price tag, a game that they're probably going to win pretty handedly. I would definitely pay down for Cade. I think the matchup is probably better as well. And that game has a better chance to stay close where we get full minutes from Cade. So probably won't get there. I think it's probably easier to stomach the price tag on J-Dub and Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein especially. I mean, he's only 6.5K. So I'm kind of interested in him, but I would definitely say max 1 OKC and probably max 0 Miami right now. But if we get some of the guys get ruled out, then look to Alec Burks.
Yeah, definitely 0 if all them are in. If I can click Alec Burks' name though, and there's no hero, you bet my ass I'm clicking Alec Burks' name. Alec Burks, KPJ. I mean, there can be a squad stars and scrubs today on this 14-game slate. As you see though, a lot of the news at 8 p.m. So part of the reason you don't want to go overboard on those first couple. Still 4 to talk about, Rio. Awesome stuff. An hour in, but 4 games left. You got this. This game cannot ignore, in my opinion. Phoenix Suns taking on the Houston Rockets. Should be a pretty, I was going to say, solid real-life game. They're 9-point favorites are the Rockets, though. There is no Devin Booker, which is a big part of that. 220 total. No Booker, no Bradley Beal, no Grayson Allen. Micic is, again, questionable for the Suns. Houston side, no Fred VanVleet. Sengun is questionable. So Bobo gets a start yesterday, plays 30 minutes. I don't know if the coach Budenholzer listened to the show or whatever. It was smart, though. You got to get Coach Butt, or you got to get Bobo on the courts instead of Ty Washington, Damian Lee. Hey, at least creates problems. 52 DK points, 30 minutes, 25% usage. Will be the most popular play on the slate if it locked right now, as you see 35% usage. And again, they are without D-Book. Tyus Jones, I think he gets a little bump. KD gets a bump at 9K. Other side, your boy Amin Thompson. And then the Sengun Q tag. Do you have any lean on that? What does that do for DFS?
Yeah, I think Sengun is like a true 50-50. I was kind of following their beat reporters on Twitter yesterday, I believe, and they cleared Steven Adams to play tonight. And then I don't know if Sengun did much in practice, but I think that he was at the practice yesterday. I don't know. I mean, that's another reason why you don't want to get too involved in those first games, because that would open up a lot. Like Amen would look really, really good because the matchup is great against Phoenix. They've been really bad defensively. And like Tari Eason would look better. Steven Adams would be a value play. Whitmore, like all these guys would get a lot better if Sengun were to be out. So I would be planning for that. Probably going to be a good amount of ownership or of roster spots in those last 2 games, I would imagine. So they should have enough room to move things around, and we definitely should be planning for that. But it was obviously like it was great for us to have Bol in the lineup. And low ownership helped Max win a lot of money, helped a lot of members win as well. Showdown was really good with Bobo in there. I can see why he doesn't have a normal rotation spot in lineups in the NBA. I mean, did you watch the second half at all of that game?
Not all of it. I was playing poker. It was on in the background. So you can explain. I mean, he's a I don't know. I'm not saying he should get 30 minutes, but this dude should not be getting 0 minutes on the daily. I could go down the laundry list in the NBA, and there's some bums in quotes that are getting minutes.
It was bad, man. I mean, he was like
him or Jayshawn Tate.
In terms of like a guy that should be playing minutes in the NBA,
you hate them both. And
I love Bobo. I love watching him play. Me and my dad were watching the game. Like we were hyped up watching him just block shots and run the floor. But yeah, I think Tate is probably like a better real life player in terms of like helping a team win. I mean, dude, he was lost on defense. He was absolutely lost. Like Zach Edey was just getting behind him. He was not closing out. He wasn't grabbing boards. Like he straight up checked out for like the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. I was sitting there like, what the hell is this guy doing? But obviously, great fantasy player. And tonight he's definitely gonna be in play because they're gonna be pretty thin. I think they'll give him a start again here.
You have to. I mean,
yeah.
I guess with all you said, there's more than just DK points scoring that. So without Book, like you have to if you want to compete in this game. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're just gonna be. They need guys that can create offense, and I think that he definitely fits into that mold. Tyus Jones too, like KD, Tyus Jones, Bol, the three guys I'm going to be playing a lot of tonight. I'm a little bit concerned about Kevin Durant because he played 43 minutes coming off of an injury. Wasn't listed tonight, but I mean, you look at the numbers with Beal and Booker off the court this season. I try to get a larger sample. Obviously, when you take away like Nurkic and some of these other guys and Grayson Allen, the sample becomes really small. But with Booker and Beal off the court, he has a 42% usage rate and is averaging 1.76 fantasy points per minute. Like that's Jokic level good. Now the concern is that he played 43 minutes last night. He's generally pretty durable and probably going to be playing 35, 36 tonight. And I think that makes him a very strong play. Matchup should be tough against Dylan Brooks, but I mentioned it yesterday with Jaren Jackson. Like it doesn't matter who's in front of him. He's the most skilled scorer possibly ever. So I'm totally fine with KD at 9K. I think Royce O'Neal is kind of interesting because he will probably get the start for Devin Booker. It's either going to be him or Ty Washington. Ty wasn't good when you look at the game log. He went 0 for 6 from 3, 1 for 8 from the field, but he played really solid defense in those minutes. So I don't think that he's going to start, but I think he'll be in the rotation. And he completely leapfrogged Monty Morris. So that's kind of interesting there. I don't know what they're going to do on the back end of the rotation, but I think that Royce O'Neal does get the start, and they go with like a Tyus, Royce, KD, Bol, and Nick Richards. But Nick Richards' minutes are very unsafe now. So they just, when you take away guys like Grayson and Booker, it makes it harder to not play Nick Richards more than he played last night because they did run a lot of small ball, I guess, with a small Bol with Bol at the 5, and Royce O'Neal was in there. But yeah, I think that it's pretty clearly KD, Tyus, and Bol are the guys you want to look to tonight. Tyus was really good again. Started off very cold with only like 5 fantasy points in his first rotation, finished with 32. He normally plays a lot more off ball with Booker in the lineup, but now that Booker is out, we're going to expect more of like a traditional point guard role for Tyus, and the matchup is really good for guards. Houston's bottom 2 in pick and roll defense. Phoenix is also very bad defensively. I'll kind of hit on that when we get to the Houston side, but yeah, I think Tyus very good, Bol very good, KD very good. But yeah, Phoenix, they've been very, very bad defensively as of late. Pick and roll defense way down. Their rim defense has been very bad with Nick Richards in the lineup. They've given up a lot of transition scoring as well, which are all the things you want to see when you're considering some of these Houston guys. I think that Amen Thompson, probably the guy I'm most excited about. They haven't played in 3 days, so he should be pretty full. Probably expecting close to 40 tonight. But yeah, the transition stuff, whenever you see a weak transition defense, I think that's where you want to look to the Thompson twins because they're obviously like just freakishly athletic. So I like Amen a lot. If Sengun were to play, he's interesting because the matchup is very good. Suns are a really bad rebounding team. Mentioned that yesterday on the show. So yeah, Sengun, he's been in and out of the lineup with injuries, and when he returns, he's pretty close to full. So I would expect him to be, probably 95% full, 33, 34 minutes, something like that. Matchup's very good. So I like him. Jalen Green, good matchup. A little bit too expensive now, but he does run a little bit more pick and roll stuff with Fred VanVleet out of the lineup. So I don't mind him, but I don't love him. I think Tari is an interesting talking point as well. We've seen him capable of playing 30-plus minutes when he's given the start. Should be given the start again. Jabari Smith is pretty close to making his return, I think. And yeah, the Suns are a very high turnover-prone team, allow a lot of transition scoring, which are 2 of the things you want to see when you're considering Tari and Amen Thompson. So I like both those guys a lot. And yeah, I mentioned like Bol just looked lost on defense a few times last night, led to some very easy buckets for the Grizzlies. So I think that could very well be the case for Eason because he's just all over the place on both ends of the court. So he could slip behind Bol and get some of those easy rim looks.
Amen or Brunson, if you had to pick straight up?
I like Brunson tonight. I think I'm gonna go with Brunson. I think that I like picking on Dyson Daniels as much as we talk about him being a good defender, but the pick and roll stuff has been really bad for Atlanta. So I kind of like Brunson tonight.
Makes sense. All right, 3 games left, Rio. Awesome stuff. Next game on the slate, Denver Nuggets, 10.5-point favorites over the Portland Trail Blazers, 233 total. Portland side, no Ayton, no Scoot Henderson. Robert Williams questionable. Jeremy Grant questionable. Denver side, no. Westy's been out for a minute. Aaron Gordon, MPJ, both questionable. I guess that's pretty big news. Julian Strawther probably gets the start. I don't know if that's good or bad. This team's played, 2 days ago? Nuggets put up 146 on them. I mean, Jokic, phenomenal play. If you tell me he's playing 35-plus minutes. Center's really strong on this slate, too, which is a knock on him. There's other good spends, like at point guard and stuff. Then you're not we could still have Day'Ron Sharp stuff. Cleveland on this side. Thomas Bryant. There is Duran. There is centers you want to play, which will keep Jokic's ownership low. Cleveland in this game at center. I know you swore off Denny, so maybe I'll listen to you rant about that and Chauncey's rotations. I see Simon's getting ownership. I don't know, man. 14-game slate. If he's going to get any 20%, I'm not really sure I need to do all that. But yeah, MPJ and Aaron Gordon both questionable. Pretty big. Jeremy Grant, I guess, as well. So do you have any leans on these Q tags, and how much do you like this game as 10.5-point favorites for the Nugs?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to like here. MPJ was playing a ton of minutes, so yeah, I think it kind of makes sense that he's been questionable, been missing a few games here and there, but he was just playing so many minutes for they had a really condensed schedule. He was playing 40 a night. And then Aaron Gordon with the midday downgrade injury management tag, you got to imagine that's probably closer to him being out, I would imagine. And if both those guys are out, then we're talking about this game possibly being a little bit more competitive. I still think that the Nuggets obviously have a huge advantage there, just talent-wise. But, yeah, I mean, they put up 88 points at the rim against the Blazers last time out. And, yeah, I mean, the defense for Portland's been very good, but a lot of that, how much of that is due to Ayton and Jeremy Grant playing those games? I don't really know. I think Jeremy Grant is a pretty solid defender. Never really considered Ayton to be the best rim protector, but they've been playing really good the last couple weeks, even up to a month. So taking those guys out does make sense that they gave up a ton of rim points. Klingon he's huge. He's kind of a stiff there, but really good per minute producer. Yeah, I mean, taking Jeremy Grant out of the lineup along with Ayton and Scoot. Unfortunately, it does make Anthony Simons look like a very good play. I think the defensive matchup for him is pretty good. I don't really worry about too much on the other side. Christian Braun, going to be on him a lot. I think that's okay. But he has a 28% usage rate, 21% assist percentage, 1.06 points per minute with those guys up the court, and should play probably 35, 36 minutes. But they may be so thin tonight that these guys could potentially even play in a blowout, because I don't really think they have enough bodies behind him. He may lose some minutes and blow to Delano Banton, but I think for the most part they're probably playing close to full tonight. Same thing for Denny. He's just a well-rounded basketball player, and the numbers back it up: 20% usage rate, or 21% usage rate, 20% assist percentage, 14% rebounding rate. Been close to average from a per minute perspective, but he does have a little bit more upside with the peripheral stats. And then Klingon, he's been really good as a starter, averaging nearly 7 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 1.2 assists, and 5 stocks per game, 22.1 minutes per game, 27.7 DK points per game in 10 starts. And I want to shout out our guy Little Nick, Discord legend, but he's noted throughout the year that Klingon has a historically good block rate in a small sample size in his first year, and that kind of makes his ceiling case a little bit more intriguing, just because if Jokic is going to be shooting around the basket, we've seen Jokic give up some blocks at times, and Klingon is just a huge body. So I think that the upside for Klingon is definitely there. He looks like one of the better values on the slate at 4.6K, put up 31.75 DK points in 21 minutes the last time these teams faced off, filling in for DeAndre Ayton. So I do like Klingon a lot. I think Ben is kind of an interesting late swap pivot if you need to make up some ground, because he's always been a really good per minute producer. He's actually leading the team in usage with all the injuries, but a lot of that's probably due to garbage time. But I think he's going to be in the rotation regardless, because they're very thin, especially if Jeremy Grant were to miss. And then the Nuggets side, I agree with everything you said. I think if you have the salary to get up to Jokic, you probably should, because he's probably going for 66 plus tonight. and he can get done in 3 quarters. The hope is that Portland can hang around and keep it close. And then you take away Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, we've seen the second unit for the Nuggets just be really bad. So the Blazers could very well go on a run in that second quarter when Jokic is off the court. Same thing in the third or fourth quarter, and then he gets those last 6-7 minutes of rotation. So I do like Jokic a good bit. And Christian Braun also an interesting low-owned option because a lot of the things that he does well are the things that Portland struggles with. Their turnover percentage is second worst in the league, and they're sixth worst transition defense in the league. So it's not very surprising when you look at the game log and see that he put up 26 real points and 38 DK points the last time these two teams faced off. And if MPJ misses and Aaron Gordon misses, a lot of minutes to go around for Christian Braun. I think that's all I got. Like, I don't know. I don't really think that these like Pickett's and Hunter Tyson and Najee's would be in play, but Strother definitely would at 4.8K.
Yeah, Strother for sure. And like, there's so many, like, these Q tags are big. MPJ's a big Q tag. Dame's a big Q tag. Like, random late stuff. So I don't think it's, again, we didn't even love the first games anyway, but this game's at 9 Eastern. A couple of those were at 8 Eastern, like the Bucks game. It's probably a slate where if I'm debating 1v1s, 2v2s, I'll lean to the latter in terms of start times if it is really close for me. And like, one has games locking at 7:30, one has games at 9. I lean more to the late swap stuff there. Good breakdown though. Yeah, if you can get the Jokic, great. The problem is you're giving up again. Center is a great position. You're spending all the way up. You're sacrificing some value, but yeah, obviously Jokic at 7% always appealing. 2 games left, Rio. Awesome stuff. We're almost there. This one should be, I don't know, solid, I guess, for real life. I always like watching the Lakers now with this new squad. I don't think it's great for DFS, though. And I'm not sure how good the Lakers will be moving forward. 9-point favorites, the Lakers over the Utah Jazz. 236 total in this one. Injuries, no Dorian Finney-Smith or Gabe Vincent on the Lakers side. No Colin Sexton on the Utah side. Yeah, I mean, with Luka in the consideration, LeBron priced up, Luka priced up, Reeves priced up. I just don't know how you can get to any of these Lakers. I don't know if I really want to get to any of these Jazz either at price tags, pretty much fully healthy outside of Sexton. So, yeah, this is an X-out game for me. What do you got?
I got to see what Austin Reeves' wardrobe looks like tonight because I don't know if you've seen the stat, but when he becomes Austin Sleeves instead of Austin Reeves, he's averaging 33.5 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game. Pretty crazy stuff, but I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Did you see the Dalton Connect thing? Not that the trade got rescinded, but the thing that why he sat out last game.
He didn't play because he has to like take time to like process everything. Dude,
what are we doing?
It's a business, buddy. Figure it out. Get on the court, make some threes, go get yourself a championship. Like, come on, buddy.
That was they should have kept that one close to the chest. I wouldn't have let that slip out.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean,
please, Vardo's liking it. That was funny.
Yeah, I don't see too much on the Lakers side. Obviously, the matchup is great. Utah, terrible. 3-point defense, bad. Transition defense, bad. Guard defense is non-existent. But there's just a lot of – it's just high price tags to pay for, I mean, everybody. Hayes is 5K. Rui 6.1. Austin Reeves 8.5. LeBron 10.5. Doncic almost 11K. Probably max 1. I think I would just consider Luka and LeBron, but Luka was only pacing for about 30 minutes the last game. I don't think that they're going to be pushing him right before the All-Star break. Like, he's probably getting 28 to 30 tonight on the high end. If the Jazz are able to keep it close, I don't think that they're going to. Lakers are actually playing pretty good defense right now. So yeah, I do slightly lean LeBron, but again, like the game's probably going to blow out. So yeah, not a ton of interest on the Lakers side. The cool thing about the Jazz right now, obviously they're terrible and they're tanking and it's been tough to watch, but they are tightening up the rotation a lot, kind of running like an 8-man rotation. They didn't really get deep into the bench. Like Philip Kowski, I don't think checked in until the second half. Johnny Juzang checked in the second quarter. So they've been keeping it pretty tight with their main guys, the 5 starters, then Keontae, Cody Williams, and then I think Juzang is like the 8th guy, or no, Bryce Sensabaugh is the 8th guy. And then Juzang and Filipkowski the 10th. So these prices are starting to come down a little bit. It's just weird that DraftKings has kept the price tag so high for Jazz all season long. But yeah, Laurie has historically been very good against the Lakers this season, averaging 36.3 DK points per game. If the game stays close, there's a little bit of ceiling tonight to Laurie. Probably not enough to play on a big slate. Same thing for Walker. He's been playing a lot of minutes lately, double-doubles in 3 straight games, showing a pretty solid floor. I think John Collins is going to be my favorite. He's having one of the best seasons of his career. It just sucks that it happens to be this season of all seasons. But yeah, he's been very consistent, tops 36 DK points, 3 of his last 5 games, right around his season average against the Lakers this season. I think the matchup is good against LeBron. So I think Collins is probably the best, and that would be max 2 Jazz, probably even max 1, definitely max 1 of those guards. Collier has the best role with the touch time and assist numbers being very good.
Good stuff. And still, I guess the Jazz shortened the rotation. And the 14-game slate, though, I don't see myself getting to anything in this game. Want to shout out Little Neck, very much deserved. There he goes, brings his giraffe. There you go. Playing the main slate so he can play his man Klingland. I like it. Can also play him in the night slates, I believe. No, you can't. Golden State and Clippers, the only one. I take that back. That is definitely why you're playing. I love it. All right, last game, Rio. You got a little breath left, I think. A little voice left in you. Golden State Warriors taking on the Dallas Mavericks. 6.5-point favorites are the Warriors. 233.5 total in this one. No injury news on the Golden State side. Dallas side, no AD. Should not be laughing, but oh my gosh. No Daniel Gafford. PJ Washington questionable. Dante Exum questionable. I'm seeing Moses Moody with a decent amount of ownership, 25%. I guess I like him because it's the last game of the slate. You have all the roster flexibility when you do plug him in your lineup. But, if I knew he was going to be 30% or something like that, it's a 14-game slate. I'm not sure that's chalk I really want to eat. Pretty low usage guy. I guess it's been a decent 14 last game, not good. The games prior a little better, but it's Steph. Now they have Jimmy Butler as well, which isn't the worst to play with in terms of like hog and usage. Buddy will get his up. I don't know how much I want to play Steph or Buddy. I'll throw it to you in this one. I'm seeing some ownership, but a lot of it's on the Golden State side. I guess PJ Washington is probably my favorite play in this game. Without AD, without Gafford, they're going to need his size. So, yeah, start Mavs side. I think it's less to talk about. And then the Warriors, what do you like?
Yeah, kind of a mystery how Dallas is going to play this one. Especially if PJ were to miss, because he's still questionable, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
so they plug him in if you don't in the last game of the slate. So I guess I have to take that back too.
Yeah, they're going to have to dust off Kyler Kelly if they don't have PJ Washington. It's rough for Dallas. You talk about defense winning championships. I would say that availability is the best ability, and you traded for Anthony Davis, who
because they were worried about Luka's. They were worried about Luka's conditioning and his health and all this stuff. So yeah, we're worried about that. So let's go get the most injury. That's what we talked about. Literally said, I was like, if you knew Anthony Davis would play 75, like almost every game, I don't think in the present term, like right now, that it's the worst trade. Like I think AD is a top 5 player when he's healthy. The problem is the future too. You're giving up, like Luka's going to be around. He's so gifted, but it's just the injury stuff. And you hate to say you were right. Everyone knows the problems, but AD was a grown ass man. You could tell when he wants to play in his first
good.
He's insane. Like he's just so skilled, so big when he wants to do it. But yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, for sure. Lachlan, you can check out the injury stuff just on NBA.com. If you search up NBA injury report, they update it like every 30 minutes, every hour or something like that. So that's what we use most of the time. But yeah, this is it's just gonna be tough for Dallas to play good defense right now. Schematically they have been good all year long, but they have nobody in the front court now. Like their rim defense is gonna get bad. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing against this Warriors team because we know that they just play a lot of motion, a lot of off-ball screening and launching threes. But still, they have a couple guys on defense. I think they're solid. Like I think Najee is pretty good. I think PJ is very good. Max Christie pretty good, and Dante Exum all pretty good defenders. But those are all wing guys. So the rim scoring for any team against them is going to be where I'm going to be looking. the starting lineup for the Warriors was switched up last time with Draymond getting the start at the 5. I don't even know if Looney was in the rotation last time out. I know Quentin Post played really good off the bench, and it seems like they just want to play him more. But Steve Kerr said that it was matchup based because they had Damian Lillard on the other side. This is kind of a similar spot with Kyrie Irving, so I think that they go Draymond at the 5 again. So yeah, I think the same starting lineup, and we've seen from a usage standpoint, 2-game sample with Jimmy Butler getting traded over. We have seen Steph lead the team in usage at really increased role, 32.4% usage rate. His assists are pretty modest, 23%, but the fantasy production has been very, very good. 53.3 DK points and 52 DK points in his last 2 games, and going for 32 plus real points in 4 straight games. Going to see a lot of Dante Exum tonight. I mentioned I do think that Exum is a pretty solid defender, but Steph is kind of in a groove on offense right now that I think that you just want to play into it. So I do like Steph a good bit. And I like Jimmy again here, 7.9K. He was really good last time out, was really close to a massive game. Been taking a little bit more of a backseat in terms of usage to Steph, 25.3%, but does have a 26.3% assist percentage and a pretty modest 9.7 rebounding rate. The offense has really been clicking, though, in the Butler and Steph minutes. They have a 128 offensive rating in a 37-minute sample. And in those minutes, Jimmy has a 1.4 point per minute production with while sharing the court with Steph. I think that this is kind of somewhat sticky, and Jimmy kind of fits in perfectly with the Warriors. So he's in those minutes that are staggered away from Steph. He's going to be the guy that has the ball in his hands a ton. And with how bad the Mavs are, with their rim defense right now and being so thin in the front court, should be a lot of easy looks for Jimmy around the basket. So I think Jimmy looks very good tonight, 7.9K. Hasn't really been needed to push for more minutes. Only got to like 31 last game, 32. But this is his 3rd game with the team, so it's probably closer to like 33, 34 tonight. I would probably be dropping all the way down from Jimmy to like the Moody range. But I agree. I don't know if Moody is the guy I want to eat chalk on because there's no confidence in Steve Kerr's rotation. Like there's nothing telling us that Moody, just because he played 32 last time, is going to play 32 this time. So yeah, I think that's probably another chalk piece that I'd be looking to get away from. Buddy and Pods have been playing really well, but price coming up a little bit. Probably more of an X out spot for me outside of Jimmy and Steph. The Dallas side starts to get pretty interesting though if BJ were to miss, because then you have one real center on the roster, and it's Kyler Kelly. He's a 27-year-old rookie, so doesn't really have much of a future in the NBA, but he's going to have to play a lot. They did go with a lot of Omax Prosper at the center last time out, played 34 minutes. Really low usage guy, so I'm not considering him much as an option tonight. But if the game does stay close, it's going to be Kyrie. Kyrie is like Siakam Sr., I guess. Like just 9.3K. You need a lot to go right there. He got there in overtime. The upside is that the Warriors do allow the 5th most ISO points per game. Obviously, Kyrie, tough to guard, so I think he could get some scoring going there. And then the hope is that we get a little bit more clarity on the PJ Washington Q tag because, if he's in, he's going to have a huge role. Will be the second option on offense. I will just take the I know ball stance on Max Christie because he's been really good since coming over. 31.8 DraftKings points per game in his first 4 games. They're so thin right now that they probably have no choice but to play him like 35, 36 minutes tonight. He's been really good since coming over. So I like Max Christie a good bit. I'm just going to you got to just bump him up a lot to get any of him because he's going to project really low. There's just when the projections take into account like his usage and the permanent stuff when he was with the Lakers, it's going to look really bad. But I think that you got to just take a little bit more of a I know ball approach when it comes to Chrissy because he's looked very, very good.
30 in his last 4. And the great thing about him is you can save your roster spot the whole time. And like just so you have him in the beginning and other stuff opens up, whether it's Banton, whether like surprising, like I don't know if there's something on. I mentioned the Trailblazers if Grant was out. Regardless, if there's any, even if like at 8 p.m. Eastern stuff, and you have Christie, but Damian Lillard's out, and you do like 3v3 stuff, he can be one of your guys. Or you take Christie out, KPJ's better, etc. But you have the last roster spot where you are fine playing Christie if nothing changes, or you still have him in your team. Same thing like with Moses Moody. I don't love it, but it also allows a lot of roster flexibility. And if you play him at the end of the day, you're stuck with him. It's not the worst play by any means, as you see. Projecting pretty well for the price. I would prefer Steph over Kyrie too, for 400 cheaper. I got nothing else, Rio. I mean, awesome stuff by you again. Slate plans up. Spent 4 hours on it, hour and a half talking these 14 games. Millie up top. I know it's Wednesday too, so you got the big 5K tournaments. A lot going on tonight. Discord, we'll be in it. We got our man Rio. We got Ham. We got BJ. A lot of people firing questions. I will say too, I know a lot of members are watching it. You can look at projection stuff. If you have a 1v1, 2v2, and you see on you go to projections, you add them up, and it's like a 3-point difference. I would almost always side with that 3-point difference. You can look at ownership too, unless you're getting a huge ownership gap. You know what you're getting into, but definitely use the stone, projections, the slate plan, listen to the show, try and create your own process. We talk about that in more education process over just picks and stuff. We don't want you to go plug in Rio's core. If it doesn't do well, you lose. That's not how you got to do it. You got to come up with your own process. That's how you get to the top. Stay consistent. NBA education, talk for 2 hours, 1.5 hours. I'm not sure which one, but all different stuff. Qualifiers, satellites, projections, cash games, everything you need to know right there. So if you have time, check that out. Any final thoughts, Rio? You're very, very impressive with what you do.
I appreciate that. I had a lot of fun doing all this stuff today. Obviously took a lot of time to get it all done. Got up a little bit earlier than usual, but it could be a lot worse. Like, I get to talk about basketball, love talking sports with you. So definitely no complaints here. And it's not often you get a chance to win $1 million. So I got 3 in there tonight. I know we have a good amount of members that got some tickets last night. I got Kai Bush, Jay Bannock got a few actually. So yeah, shout out to everybody and good luck to everybody that's going to be in the Millie tonight. Going to be a fun one. So just try to shrink the game, make it a smaller slate if you can.
For sure. We talked about that when we went game by game. I think we did a good job with that. Yeah. Shout out Jay Bannock. He wins too much money. I shout out Max Manning, 100K. Jay Bannock's winning in all sports, but $70,000 for him yesterday. Shout out to you as well. Again, if you want to get over, Ship 50 gets you $50 off your first month with Optimizer. $99 takes you down to $49. No better time to get in. Definitely join the Discord if you do sign up. Awesome stuff. Rio and I will be back tomorrow, assuming there's 4+ games. For Rio.
Dame is out.
There we go. Dame is out. We'll see if it's KPJ or Ryan Rollins. Again, everything will be updated. Any changes in yellow for Rio. I'm Title Talent. Be safe. Good luck tonight. Peace.